man, X-Men's so good. Have you stayed away from X-Men spoilers? Because
no. Dude, you know how like you pull up like a homepage, sometimes it has just like a start menu of just like different like headlines and shit. Someone put a fucking X-Men 97 like big spoiler right in the fucking like headline of the article, and I'm like, well, what the fuck? I don't want to know that. Did you guys go back and watch the original one at all?
I didn't. I meant to, but I did not.
I do it every few years, just as is.
The final season, I don't know what the fuck they did, but it's awful.
Yeah,
like awful.
Yeah, you can skip season 4. It's not.
It's terrible. I'm like, it looks like they got a whole new animation studio. They got new voice actors. It's the storyline's fucking atrocious. The animation's horrible. The voice Gambit is awful. I don't know what the fuck they got to hire him, but like I could do a better Cajun accent than that fucking guy.
Let's hear it. Come on, audition tape. Go for it. Raging Cajun by Andy. Go.
You're putting me on the spot. I can't do it on the spot. It has to be.
We'll come back to you. Think about it.
El Natural.
Oh, come on now, Shay. You can't go messing with Gambit.
It's not bad. I heard a little bit in there.
That's better than the fucking shit that I just got that we just watched. So. I know why they I'm assuming they canceled it because they had some sort of shake-up or whatever, but the animation's awful, the voice acting's awful, the story's atrocious. It's all one-liners. It's awful. Oh, spoiler, mon ami.
Is that the new spoiler alert? That's Gambit. I don't know how we got this voice actor to give us Gambit spoilers, but
that was awful.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bry Guy and his Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Lebick. Joining me for this episode is Andy Stoles.
What's up, podcast people?
And Mike Bradley.
I mean, it was right there to frame one of us as Kong and the other as Godzilla.
I thought about that. I didn't know are you still a Kong supporter? Because we could put Andy in the Godzilla corner and you in the Kong corner.
I do have the Godzilla claw even.
Oh,
when were you hiding that thing?
That's pretty awesome. You can't see it, listeners, but honestly, it looks a little bit like a Ghostbusters prop too. Like it looks like it could be like one of the the dogs
it could be a
they
terror
turn
dog.
into.
Oh yeah, the thing that grabs Dana Barrett and then is like, and then she's like, eh.
Definitely gets a free grope out of that one. I'd love to be that guy. All right. So we're here to talk some Godzilla and Kong. Before we get into that, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to plug anything that you want to plug. Andy, anything monster related that you might want to talk about?
Oh yes, thank you. That was a softball pitch. Let's hope I don't whiffaroo. So I'm actually really excited to have you guys here because I have some Steam keys to hand out. If you guys want to try the first level of the game and record your thoughts and any issues you might have and whatnot.
We get to be the guinea pigs.
Yeah. Can we stream this?
Absolutely, 100%. Please stream it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's confidential. You never know.
Yeah.
I just want to ask first.
I plan on doing the same. So, but you two are a little bit more on the experienced streamer thing. Me, I'm just kind of like, am I on?
I just saw a headline from I don't know. I think it was 2021. I don't know why it showed up in my feed yesterday, I think, but it was something about Snoop Dogg streaming. And the headline was Snoop Dogg has muted his mic and we can't hear him on stream, and he did it 3 streams ago, and he either doesn't care or doesn't realize he did it. for that long. He's just been talking.
Thousands of viewers, so
probably.
It's Snoop Dogg. Yeah. But I remember there being so many clips during quarantine and COVID and everything of Snoop Dogg raging at Warzone. where like he would throw controllers, he'd flip the fuck out. And he's not like, this is actually somebody who's not being performative for money because it's Snoop. He doesn't need the money. He's just genuinely raging at it, and it was hilarious. Look them up sometime if you've never seen that. Snoop raging at Warzone is amazing.
Yeah, I was curious if he's still streaming. I might have to look him up and see if he's still going.
But anyways, if sorry, not to cut in.
No, go ahead. Go.
If anybody is curious, it's a game we're developing called Dreeg, www.meltedmonstergames.com. You can find out all your information there. It's like a beta test or an alpha test or something like that. It's not quite a demo or a demo test or something. But I don't think it's publicly available. You need to have like special Steam keys and whatnot to play it. I will be testing it on twitch.tv/thedruid79, THEDREWID79, and I'm hoping that my two compatriots here will also be doing the same thing on their channels.
Yeah, we'll have to work that out and start scheduling some stuff. We'll try to put some posts on the socials for when we try to do that, whether it's Andy, myself, or Mike, or whoever it is, or if we all try to plan around the same week or something like that. We'll see what we can figure out. But yeah, either way, we'll try to start using the socials that I'm neglecting, and try to post about that stuff.
I mean, and I guess that's as good a segue as we're gonna get into me saying like, hey, you can catch me at Rare Achievements on Twitch. And when are these Steam keys ready to go now?
As soon as I get your guys' email address, I will send you an email after the podcast.
Oh shit!
But yeah.
Okay, well then, but by the time you're listening to this, I will be delaying it so that this gets out before I do it, just so you can hear it here. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll stream it multiple times, because who knows? I don't know how long this first level is or how difficult it's going to be. So.
I feel like it's not short, but it's not super long, and it does have a difficulty curve to it, and there are some like hidden secrets and stuff that you can like try to get and whatnot.
Oh, secrets to find. Okay. So by the time you've listened to this, I will have already streamed this at least once, but I'll do it more as time goes on. So yeah, I will absolutely try and stream this tomorrow, even if you'd like, Andy. I can start doing it right away.
It's up to you.
And yeah, you can catch me over Rare Achievements on Twitch, and you know, for all your Pokemon, Destiny, Dark Souls, talking dumb shit. And occasionally open some Pokemon cards is always fun. Been doing that a bit lately. Got some Korean Eevee heroes coming in for opening early next week, probably. Should be fun. Yeah, so, you know, hop on over and check that out. See if I can pull a $1,000 card out of that box. It might happen.
And then, yeah, I guess I'll plug my Twitch as well. I don't stream nearly as much as I should. I've been promising BioShock for like 5 months now or something.
BioShock.
That I was going to finish that game.
BioShock.
It's been way too long. Yeah, Andy's my sole viewer for that one. But it'll be at Jedi Bry Guy on Twitch. Jedi with an I, Bry with a Y. Yeah, BioShock, I don't think that was the last thing I streamed, but it was one thing that was fully intended of... Not that you listen. I'm assuming some people don't listen to all the episodes. We did an episode probably last year at this point about back catalog games. BioShock was the one that the rest of the guys on the podcast voted for me as the next ones I should play out of my back catalog. I vowed I would stream it. I played for, I don't know, 3 hours, I think, one time, and I have not gone back since. I have to finish that game. I've heard it's not very long, maybe 10 hours,
yeah,
15
I was gonna say,
at the most.
You've got a good chunk knocked out already.
Yeah, so I have every intention of going back to it. I just haven't. We talked about it a little bit before the show. My video game ADD kind of just takes over, and I just start bouncing around between shit. So I have to find a solid like chunk of time to be like, I'm going to sit down and play this game, and I'm going to stream it. So keep your eye out for that. Eventually, it will happen. I just don't know when. So we'll see.
Can I make a suggestion to get you to consistent stream again for at least a short time?
I don't know. What's the suggestion?
Well, I mean, we've talked in the past about co-oping on a stream. I'm just going to throw it out there. Why don't you and I set up a schedule and co-op Gears of War Ultimate Edition?
The first one or different one?
Yeah, there's an Ultimate Edition on Game Pass or whatever that's like updated and, you know, visuals and all that stuff.
They don't still do like the squad streaming stuff anymore, do they? I think Twitch got rid of that, huh?
There's a new version of it that actually exists now. Okay. I don't know what it's called or how you access it, but it does exist again. in some form
Okay.
or format. I watched one the other day where people were playing Uno. It was like Ray Nervais and Matt Bragg, and then a couple people you probably have no idea who they are.
Uno, the card game, like the traditional, like
Yeah,
old school card game. Okay.
yeah, but it was like four corners, so you could see like each of their hands and what each of them were doing.
It's a video
and,
game
like,
version of that.
Oh no,
Candid,
yeah.
but
I was
Uno's
just
a card
making
game.
sure that that's
Yeah.
the Uno I'm thinking of.
Yep. Yeah, like just standard old Uno, but yeah, they were co-streaming that. I've seen them do it with Mario Party, and a couple other games, so I know it's possible.
Okay.
But I'd have to look into how. I mean, even if we're not necessarily doing that, we could always just play it together on stream because it would be fun. Because it's Gears of War, and it's been a long time since I played it. So if you're not
been a
going
while.
Chainsaw guns.
I honestly feel like I remember playing that game for the first time at Andy's. apartment.
Yeah.
oh
Yep.
really?
Yeah. I think it was. We tried to co-op it, I think, and we tried to play it for a while, and I don't
We
know if we
did.
ever finished the game.
we didn't, but I just remember one point you were on like there was like a ship that lands and like all these hordes of enemies are coming at us, and you were on the top lane and I was on the bottom lane, and we were both trying to like defeat the
Cover
enemies
each
on
other.
yeah. It didn't work out well. I don't think we had to try it a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one that like there is a definite difficulty spike on it toward the end of that game, where like most of it is pretty simple, and then like toward the end it gets a little tougher, and then the final boss is actually tough as shit.
I don't even know if I remember the final boss. I know I beat that game
General
eventually,
Rom.
but I don't remember it.
Like
Oh, wait, that's on the train, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, he's got like the I don't know, crows or whatever you want to call them, like the
Yeah.
flying things that you have to stay in the light or they kill you. Yeah. But I've never co-opted that boss, so it might be easier in co-op because I don't know that they
In
increased
theory.
his health. Yeah, in theory. I don't know that they gave him more health, so like you could probably burst it down quickly. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just remember take cover, chainsaw guns, and Marcus Phoenix.
And Dom.
That's what
don't
I
forget
remember.
Dom.
That's what I remember from those games.
It wasn't the was it the A train? No, it wasn't A train. What did they call him?
Coltrane.
Coltrane. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I
The
do remember
A-Train's
that
the
name.
boys.
I remember that.
He's basically like Terry Crews. Like,
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to replay it. Like it's been a long time, and I think it'd be fun. So if you're game for it, text me. Let me know. We'll hop in and do it.
Fair enough. All right, so we'll move on to talking about what we're here to talk about, which is Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, which I still hate that fucking title. It's the fifth movie in Universal's MonsterVerse, which is following 2014's Godzilla, 2017's Kong Skull Island, 2019's Godzilla King of Monsters, and 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong. This new movie is directed by Adam Wingard, who also directed 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong. Terry Rossio, I think, is the only returning writer. The story for this one was created by Rossio, director Adam Wingard, and Simon Barrett. Screenplay written by Terry Rossio, Simon Barrett, and Jeremy Slater. The film brings back Rebecca Hall, Kayla Hottle, who's the little girl, and Brian Tyree Henry from Godzilla vs. Kong. And I really think the only other additional cast member worth mentioning is Dan Stevens, who might have my favorite introduction of a character ever in this movie.
Oh yeah.
We'll go through some of the ratings that I was checking out online. So Rotten Tomatoes right now has the movie at a 54% for the critic rating and a 91% for the audience rating. Metacritic has it at a 47 Metascore and 8.3 user score. Checking out some of the box office numbers too. Comparing budgets a little bit. So I was trying to look up what the movies cost. Godzilla vs. Kong, Google is telling me it was anywhere between 155 and 200 million. And then compared to Godzilla X Kong, it's saying 135 to 150 million. So a little bit cheaper. And then as far as box office, what they made, Godzilla vs. Kong, and the numbers with, I feel like Godzilla vs. Kong should come with an asterisk. They opened with 32 million, went on to make 470 million worldwide. but this was during the
Yeah,
pandemic.
it was
This was one of the movies
Max.
that, yeah, went straight to HBO Max at the time. It was one of the movies that started bringing people back to theaters. I think there was a lull at that time of the pandemic when it seemed like we were going to come out of it and then shit hit the fan again. So it was one of those movies that started getting theaters back up because we weren't sure if theaters were going to stick around after the pandemic. So considering that sort of background, the money that it made during that time was one of the better movies of the year. Godzilla X Kong, which has been out what two weeks I think at this point, opened with 80 million, so it had obviously a better opening than the last movie, and currently is sitting at 488 million worldwide. So it's already topped what Godzilla vs. Kong made at the box office, which is good. So we'll see what kind of legs that movie has. I don't think there's too much else coming out the next couple weeks. I know Ryan, Gosling has his movie coming out, I think, beginning of May, and then the following weekend, I think, is Planet of the Apes. So there's some stuff that could start pulling away money from this one, but I think it had a couple weeks to itself. So we'll see how that stacks up and how it does. As we do with most of our movie reviews, we'll start with some spoiler-free thoughts, just for anyone that might be curious about the movie and trying to decide if they want to go see it or not. And then we'll get into some spoilers and, keep you guys around that actually did see the movie. And we'll talk about, hopefully, some stuff you might want to hear us talk about. So, general thoughts. Andy, I'll start with you. General thoughts for the movie. What do you want to talk about?
I enjoyed the tempo of the movie.
Okay.
I thought I was never like bored at any point. I felt like there were no like long lulls where I was like, ho hum, what the hell,
Yeah.
It was a little light on plot, but I feel like these types of movies, I know that's going to be a thing.
It's expected.
I'm more there for the kaiju spectacle battle type stuff.
Yes.
Which I felt like it fulfilled a lot of that. So.
Anything else, or I'll pass it off to Mike.
I thought there were some pretty good performances. I felt like what was his name? David Tyree
Henry
was good, and Dan Stevens was also good in it.
Yeah. Dan Stevens has some very good range. Like, after watching him in, like, Legion, and then seeing him in this, I'm like, that's the same guy. Like, that's fucking crazy to me. Mike, anything general thought-wise you want to chime in with?
I'm gonna say that, if you're able to turn your brain off and not worry about massive plot holes and things that don't make sense and all sorts of thematic problems and all that, and just have fun, as Andy said, like we all like to do with the kaiju fights, it's great. If you try and make sense of what they're saying or what's actually happening or why, you're just wasting your time. This is one where, like, I get why audiences are praising it because they're not thinking when they're watching it. They're just enjoying it for the spectacle that it is. And I get why critics are more panning it, let's say, because there was at least a dozen times in the movies I said, what the fuck? Why is that happening? In terms of like what they were trying to do. And I'll make this case more when we get into the spoilers. This should have just been a Kong movie. It did not need Godzilla to be present at all. And it would have been a way better, and maybe actually a movie I would call a good movie had they done that. So, we'll get into that when we talk spoilers, but I feel like it could have gone that route and actually come out a quality movie. But
I'm not really gonna bury the lead on this one, but I love this movie. I thought it was really fucking cool. Like, it maybe like I just went into it not expecting to like Mike said, like I wasn't going into this expecting Shakespeare or something really in depth that I really needed to dig into and think about. I just wanted to see a popcorn movie monster fight. I got, I think, more than I expected maybe out of a plot. Like I didn't absolutely hate the human characters, which I felt like I have in past MonsterVerse movies. Like, I didn't think they were that annoying. They actually had, I felt like something to do, something that was relevant with what was going on. I guess, yeah, to Mike's point, yeah, if you really stop to think about it, there's a lot of shit that don't make sense. Like, why stuff is happening or where they're going or this whole, the world they set up. But as far as like the way, maybe like Andy said, the pacing of the movie and the way the movie builds to the climax of the movie, by the time you get to the climax, I'm like, let's fucking go. Like, this is great. Like, I was so in at that point that I was locked in. It was great. It was like, I know we just talked about Ghostbusters, and I think Ghostbusters was a movie I had a lot of expectations for, and it fell short of those expectations. But that's just my bias, I think, for a movie that I really care about, one that I want to think about, one that I want to dig into. This one's just much more surface level for me, but I also feel like I came out of it feeling like I had more fun watching this movie than I did Ghostbusters, which is weird for me to say. But I do think, as of right now, this movie might hit my surprises list for the year, just because I didn't expect much going into it and came out of it like I was very satisfied and happy after this movie. So we can get into specifics and stuff and try to break it down that way, but burying the lead, like I said, one of my favorite movies so far. I think I feel like I'm gonna maybe rate it. The way these guys have talked, I don't know how I'll stack up against Andy, but I'm pretty sure I'm probably gonna rate it higher than Mike right now. So we'll see where everybody kind of falls. But again, sort of like what we preach, I think every time we talk about movies, we are not critics. We're just fans. If you are at all interested in seeing any of the stuff, don't count on our opinions. Just fucking go see it yourself. Form your own opinion. You might like something we hate. You may hate something we like. So, it is what it is. But if you're looking for our stamp of approval, those are our general spoiler-free thoughts. Again, just check it out if you're curious, and then we'll talk later.
Yeah, my mantra for this movie was accept it and move on. Accept it and move on. Don't dwell.
And I was going to say, where I would leave it is if you have two options in front of you, and you can only pick one, and you have Godzilla -1 and Godzilla X Kong, buy Godzilla -1, print it in gold, and hold on to it forever, and throw this movie in the garbage. By comparison, if we're talking Godzilla movies, there is not a comparison between the two movies. And if you only can get to one, you should get to -1 much before this one.
Yeah. Well, all right, so maybe we'll classify, without getting into real big spoilers, this is a question I think I've seen a lot of reviewers talk about. It might have been why they rated it lower, is because this is the 5th movie in this shared universe thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's still not really doing much different than what any of the past movies did. Mm-hmm. So it's not really setting itself apart too much. It's still following monster movie fight formulas. And, knowing that it's part of a shared universe thing, there's some expectation to, hey, you have to see the other 4 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Is that something you feel like you need to have seen the other 4 movies previously to build up to this one? Could you just go into this one cold turkey and still enjoy it? I guess, yeah, how much weight do you think, the shared universe stuff kind of puts on this movie?
I feel like the other movies help, but they're not required to watch it. They're not required viewings.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I feel like this movie set itself up to it could be a standalone if it wanted to be.
And
Mike, what do you think?
I'd say the same, basically. Like, again, you're not coming to these movies for the plot, and if you are, what are you doing? So, yeah, like, I don't necessarily think any Godzilla movie in this franchise needs any of the other movies. Maybe, the King of the Monsters you need to see before you see Godzilla versus Kong, because you have character continuation from one to the other, and you have the same kind of thing here, but I really don't think that anything significant that happens to the characters in Godzilla versus Kong matters in this movie.
Yeah.
So
they just reappear.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. I don't think you need to see the other movies before. All you really need to know is who Godzilla is and who King Kong is.
Yeah,
and then you're fine.
And if you don't know if this is like a total blind thing for you and you don't know jack shit, didn't even know they existed, which I find hard to believe because they've been around for freaking ever and all over freaking popular media and stuff. Like, I could see you being maybe confused, but
Yeah, I think the movie does a good job of filling in the gaps of other movies for like the recurring characters, like the little kid that we get from the carryover from Godzilla versus Kong. Like they give you enough exposition in this movie to fill in the gaps of like, why are you here? Why is this weird for you and not everybody else? Like,
Right.
they give you that explanation. So I don't think there's anything too lost there. So again, yeah, if you're curious and especially if you haven't seen any of the other ones, just check it out, see what you think, and then let us know what you think afterwards. All right, so that's probably as good a time as any. We'll go to spoilers. So if you have not seen Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, still hate it. And don't want spoiled, pause us now, come back after watching the movie. If you like all the juicy details, stick around and we'll spoil some stuff for you. So either way, spoilers to follow.
Spoiler! Spoiler! Something like that.
All right, so we are back to talk some spoilers. I don't know if I have any specific places to start. I know one of the thoughts I had coming out of this movie, and I feel like it happened somewhere in the beginning or the middle, where it's just like, maybe this is just like one of those things where you just don't want to think about too much, but I think we were at the Monarch facility and they were like tracking all these monsters and mutos and stuff everywhere, and they just show the map of like, oh well, there's a monster here, there's a monster there, there's a monster there, and like people are just like cool with it. Like, I don't know how people just live in a world where there's just like, oh yeah, there's monsters living around. We're just tracking them.
I don't know
because,
that they have a choice.
They're there. Well, I guess true, but
because like you got to remember they shot a nuke at Godzilla and he just ate it. So what the fuck are they gonna do?
yeah, true. I guess
we don't have a choice in this matter. They're just here. They just exist.
Yeah, they're just like, I don't know, catastrophic events waiting to happen, but everyone's just kind of going about their lives. I don't know. That part was like, that was one of those ones where I couldn't think about it too much because I was like, that's a fucking fucked up place to live, but.
So yeah, have either of you seen the Apple TV show?
I started it.
Okay, I feel like that might have a little bit to do with something there. Okay. I haven't seen it, but just in my mind, I was like, maybe there's some connective tissue that I missed there.
So I'm like 3 episodes in. I don't remember how many episodes it is, but
it's only like 8 or something, isn't it?
I think it's short. It's got to be 10 or less. But it kind of, I guess it has to do more kind of with the creation of Monarch, and it takes place like it jumps back and forth timeline wise. It jumps back to when Monarch was starting to get created and how that's like some of the first monster sightings started, and then it jumps to more present day, but not the present day. It takes place like 2 years after Godzilla's attack on San Francisco.
Okay.
So the first Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
So it's before King of Monsters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like Godzilla showed up in San Francisco. It's this big thing. And the world's trying to react to, hey, we've just had a big ass monster attack. What happens when the next one happens? And there's some sort of secret that Monarch knows about or is trying to keep under wraps that that the characters are stumbling along to, but I don't know what that mystery is yet and how it ties to the stuff that's in the flashback sections. But what I think is kind of cool is the flashback sections feature Wyatt Russell, and then the present, quote unquote, present day is Kurt Russell playing the same character. So Kurt Russell's son plays the younger version of himself, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool that they're able to do that for a series. That's a nice little thing to, I mean, especially for them too, you know what I mean? Like just being able to do that with your dad, with your son, whatever, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, so far the show, 3 episodes in, I really like it. I think that, like, the production of this show is really, because the monsters actually look really cool. They do a good job with the special effects and stuff.
You got green light for 2, so.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe I'll have to report back after I finish the season or something to touch on a later episode quickly or something, because I'm not expecting to do like a full-blown review of it or something, but maybe for like a what's up with you, I could talk about it, bring it up. But so far, like I said, 3 episodes in, I'm really enjoying it. I'm curious to see where this goes. It's hooked me either way. So we'll see how much it ties into the MonsterVerse as a whole once I get through the season. Okay. But yeah, it takes place, I guess, like I said, sort of earlier on in this MonsterVerse movie franchise. So we'll see.
And I guess as a kicking off point, since it's kind of irrelevant to a lot of the other stuff, I'll expound upon my idea that this movie should be made without Godzilla. And this is just purely from what was good about this movie as a story. as story building goes and what they could have done more of had they cut Godzilla out. I can't be the only person that watched this movie that got like God of War 2018 vibes watching Kong and the baby Kong, whatever you want to call that thing. Like I genuinely I thought there was going to be like a point where Kong starts talking and just goes boy and has him like just give me more of that relationship of the two of them learning to coexist and all of that, and play that into the whole, what was it, Scar Heart or Face or whatever they called the
Scar King.
Yeah,
That
Was
sounds
it
right.
Scar King?
Just give me like more of that playing into like the conflict there. Get rid of Ice Godzilla. I don't need that thing. I don't get that out. Get Godzilla out. Have this be a conflict between Kong and young Kong, whatever you want to call that thing, Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr., I guess, is the obvious reference there. Or maybe since he's colored that way, maybe that's just the origin of Donkey Kong and we don't know it yet.
Diddy Kong. It's Diddy.
Yeah, we'll call him Diddy. I don't know if it actually had a name, but we're going to call it Diddy. So you have Kong and Diddy there, and give me more of that relationship between them growing and creating an alliance. And I mean, I feel like that makes a better movie. You could have so much set up there and play into it, and then you don't have to have this weird telepathic crystal thing that controls Ice Godzilla, and a reason for Godzilla to come down and be involved is because there's ice. They just wanted Godzilla involved in the fight with the story they had to tell, so they made Ice Godzilla as a reason for Godzilla to be in the fight. It just, I don't know, a lot of it added up weird that way, but I feel like had they just done more with Kong and Diddy and let them have a whole arc together, not just a few scenes, I think you get a very good movie out of that, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like more of, I think, like you said, more of Kong's movie than Godzilla's. Because I even thought that, like, watch it, because it takes like, I feel like probably a good hour before you start seeing Godzilla. Like, it mostly just focuses on Kong for the majority of the beginning, especially.
It really does, yeah.
And yeah, you start wondering when and how they're going to start weaving in Godzilla, and he's just kind of there as what feels like backup, I guess, like just to get some cool shit to do, which is fine.
He's just there to curl up like a cat in the Coliseum.
I mean, I'll get to that in a second. That pissed me off, but I will say that I felt like somebody at some point drew on a storyboard Kong riding Godzilla into battle, and they were like, "Well, we have to make a whole movie for this," and that's how we wound up here.
So not gonna lie, I fucking loved it. Like when that moment happened, I'm like, let's fucking go. Like,
I'm not saying I didn't like that moment. I'm not saying I didn't like it. You understand what I mean? That was fun as hell. I'm 100% on that wavelength. But if you wanted quality cinema, that's where I was, drawing the line. I think you could have got a bit of both had you just cut Godzilla out of this.
And maybe that's wrong. Like, I'm just not, I guess, coming into this expecting quality cinema. Like, just give me my monster blockbuster popcorn movie, and this hit, I think, on every level for me for that.
And I think that's partly the Godzilla -1 presence for being so.
Yeah, if you want cinema,
recent.
go watch that movie.
I just think with it being so recent, it gives you like that standard that you really shouldn't hold this movie up to.
I think they're, different styles though. So I don't know how much you can compare them, because I think they are totally going for two totally different tones and I don't know, directions for the movie or something like that. So as much as everybody I think wants to compare, because like you said, I think that's the other latest Godzilla movie that came out, but I still think they're two completely different beasts, if you will.
Right. I just think nobody came out of Godzilla X Kong thinking like, boy, that should be up for an Oscar. Like,
I don't think you're expected to, though. That's the thing.
Well, right, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like they might have felt that way had they gone the Kong and Diddy route, where there's a compelling story to be told there that isn't just monsters smash each other. I know that they're going for monsters smash each other. I get that, and I love it. I mean, I've made that well known. I still love that. But, Andy, I know you had something to say there. I'm going to cut myself off and let you go.
The thing about Godzilla is everything that Godzilla got to do that was cool was, um, like flash forwarded. Like his fight with what was it? Bahamut? Is that his name?
Tiamat.
Tiamat. Yes, I knew it was a Dungeons and Dragons dragon name.
Yeah.
Would have been an awesome battle. I would have loved to have seen it, but all you see is like they start going at each other, and then bloop, 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 you just see the
Oh, cut
carcass
to-
of
he
Tiamat
won.
come up, and I'm like, I would have
Yeah, you
liked
see,
to have
like
seen
the
that.
heat ray like flash
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
and it's
like I
all
want to
right.
see that, you know. And then like the
That's how you go from a $50 less $1 million budget.
yeah,
They cut $50 million out of the budget for that.
and the battle with the crab in the beginning, like it took 45 seconds, you know.
Yeah.
And you could even say that they cut a couple of corners with Kong, because the river or the lake monster that Diddy sets him up for was another, like, he expected him to be dead, and then he comes back with, you know, all the meat and whatever because he killed him. These are things that I
Yeah.
want to see happen.
And that was also almost the exact same fight from Kong Skull Island with the giant octopus. It felt
Oh,
like
yeah.
the exact. I felt like I was seeing the same scene that was in Kong Skull Island, and I was like, "What the hell? What? Why are they doing that again?"
I almost feel like it's, you know, to the point where it's like, well, we don't know who's seen what. We're going to expect people who haven't seen the other movies, so let's just throw in whatever we want. It doesn't matter if it sort of echoes the last movie or 2 movies before, because we're going to assume they haven't seen that movie.
It's a weird way to make a sequel.
Yeah. The bankability is on Godzilla and Kong. Whether or not people actually see, I feel like it's less on the connected universe
Yeah.
like Marvel does, and more just like, hey, let's just go see a movie with these 2 monsters in it.
Oh, 100%. And like, I'll come back and touch on. I'm gonna get positive about this at some point, I promise. But I'm gonna touch, because Andy mentioned the Coliseum thing, so I'm gonna touch on my issue there, and that is, I feel like there is 4 different scales for Godzilla in this movie, in terms of size, and that none of them match the original scale from the first of these films. Like, I feel like this version of Godzilla has gotten smaller in each subsequent film somehow, because it became easier to film that way or something. I don't know. But Godzilla should not fit in the Coliseum to just lay down and hang out in it. Like, this version of Godzilla would not be able to just curl up in there all nice and cozy. Like, I feel like he just would be too big. But
Like his foot would fit in it. It would be a good shoe.
yeah, like, there's scaling issues there. But also, with the Coliseum specifically, something that pissed me off is they show when Godzilla wakes up the first time in the Coliseum and leaves, he crushes a large part of it as he's leaving. And then at the end of the movie, when they show him sleeping in it again, it's intact. That
I mean,
bugged
they
the
just
hell
have-
out of me.
They have really fast workers over there. They just like they rectified it real quick. Like,
Rebuild the ancient Coliseum the same way it used to be.
yeah,
Contractors are really busy in this world. Okay,
Yeah.
stuff gets destroyed all the time.
some really big 3D printers. You're good.
Yeah, yeah. It was just one of those things that just bugged the hell out of me. Like, didn't they show him like walk through one of the walls of the Coliseum on his way out? Because what the hell? But also, like, I just felt like I remember in that first 2014, was it?
I
Yeah.
think so. The first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that, like, him towering over buildings in that movie. In here, like, he stands up next to skyscrapers when he's fighting the Mutos. Like, as fighting the Mutos, like, he's as tall as skyscrapers. In this movie, they show him running around, and it's like he's half the size of them. And I'm like, when did that happen? And then they cut later, and it's all of a sudden he's much bigger again. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Maybe it's not actually Godzilla. Maybe it's like Son of Godzilla. And regular
Or there's
Godzilla's
more
just
than
taking a
one
nap
Godzilla.
somewhere. Yeah.
Like, they haven't revealed that part yet.
Oh come on! Don't even
That's-
bring up the Matthew Broderick movie. That
Oh no, I was going the Lake Placid route.
I still kind of love that movie. That still has a soft place in my heart.
What? I've never heard anyone say that. Defend that statement.
It's like so campy and stupid, but it's like it's one of those movies that I saw, you know, in middle school or yeah, because it was probably like 97, 90,
it's
what,
very
98,
famously
right?
2000. Like, it's called
2000?
Godzilla 2000. Like, that's how everybody refers to it. Or it might be
I thought it was just
98.
Godzilla.
You know what? I think you might be right.
It was pre-2000.
Yeah, because there was a Godzilla 2000 that was a Japanese one or something, right?
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of movies I think that I saw in middle school, early high school years that are not good movies, but I just have such fond memories of seeing them in the theater and stuff like that I still kind of like them.
That's one of them. I might have actually
it's
seen that
stupid,
movie with you, Brian, at Distinta, I bet.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
I remember...
Because that was with Roland Emmerich. He's coming off of like Independence Day and all his other disaster movies where I was like, this is the fucking greatest thing ever.
I remember seeing that movie in the theater and leaving pissed off. I don't remember enjoying that movie ever.
See, I had no pre-existing notions of like Godzilla. I didn't watch a lot of the old Godzilla movies. I didn't go into it with any expectations. It was just another disaster movie for me with a big monster.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
I was cool with that.
I will say that movie has one of the best soundtracks ever. Go out there and find it if you can.
That's true.
It's not on Spotify, unfortunately. But yeah, that's an amazing soundtrack. So you should look it up.
Kids, you need a thing called a CD. Yeah. You know, physical media.
And even then, you're not going to be like I guess he was Puff Daddy then. The remix with Jimmy Page of Kashmir that they did called Come With Me. Good luck finding that one because somebody wanted that one killed from every platform ever. The only one I'm able to find now is like a live performance they did on MTV at one time. Like finding like just the actual version of that song. Good luck.
I will say that it's still a CD I have somewhere. I just don't know where the fuck I packed all my CDs at.
Oh yeah, I think that. Well, you know what? Now I was gonna say it was in my parents' attic. I don't know what my sister did with it when she packed up the attic when they moved. So it's either in the trash or at their house in Erie. I don't know.
So one thing I thought of during this movie, and this kind of goes back to the Diddy. Not Puff Daddy, like the little Diddy.
Oh yeah. We do have multiple Diddies now in this canon. So,
but did anybody else laugh hysterically and then really feel bad about themselves after Kong used Diddy as like a nunchuck and started hitting people with him?
I honestly thought he killed him when he did it.
Yeah,
like, I thought he was
laughed out loud, and I was like, "Oh shit, he just used that kid as a weapon. I should feel terrible."
He did. He used him hard. Like it sounds awful, but like he cracked some skulls with that dude.
There was honestly a moment in my brain there trying to justify it, like, oh, maybe it wasn't a kid, maybe it was just like an elderly, smaller virgin or something. Like, he didn't just murder a baby. It's
just some little old shithead, like
yeah, just an old curmudgeonly bastard, or so, I don't know. Like that, it was only for like half a second, but it was in my brain, like trying to be like, no, Kong, don't kill the baby. Like,
yeah, that I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, immediately I was like, oh god, what does that say about me if I think this is funny? Like,
Brian leaves the movie. I'm a bad person.
Yeah, I have to rethink my life. I don't know what just happened.
To be fair, if like a 6-year-old stabbed me, I might do that.
It's relatable in the moment, but when you're like, oh shit, that's a kid. Like,
I mean, it would take getting stabbed or shot by a child that age to actually do something about it. But, you know, in that case, maybe.
I think, maybe I kind of have an idea how Mike feels about this. But Andy, how'd you feel about Skinny Kong and Ice Godzilla as the villains for this movie?
How do I put this? I didn't think that Scar King himself necessitated Godzilla's help. Really in fighting it. I sort of enjoyed what the hell was Ice Godzilla's name?
I don't remember. That's why I just called him Ice Godzilla.
I can't remember either. But I enjoyed his he had just a little bit of backstory, like the Mothra like tribe that was hidden in like her lost tribe or whatever, relayed to them via, ESP or whatever they were using, that he brought about the Ice Age, I guess, which I thought was a little bit of cool lore, and like he was one of like the very ancient Titans. Yeah, Titans. Okay, that's what they're called. I enjoyed that, but
we'll go with that.
I didn't enjoy how Scar King had control over him, because I feel like they just glossed over it. There was a shiny, and that's how had control
Yeah, I
over
was gonna
him.
say
Yeah.
that is all they did is show you that there was a
Yeah,
thing that he
like
had that controlled it. No explanation of
can
how
I
or
get
why.
like a 3-minute segment of like a little backstory of how he got that or something?
And
Like that'd been
and
awesome.
it was even like a puppeteering thing at one point. He like twitches it and makes the Ice Godzilla thing swing its tail at one point, like he's just pulling a string. It wasn't even looking at him at the time. Where it wasn't just fear, it was like literally that thing was like a video game controller.
Yeah. Um, but Scar King, I thought was cool, especially his like design of his character and his weapons, and how he was a very like agile, sort of like ninja-esque kind of monkey.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem to match in my mind the control he had over all the other people, because I feel like if he didn't have like the Ice Godzilla, he wouldn't have the power that he did. So he was kind of a usurper, in my opinion.
It's kind of like the rule by fear, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to challenge him because he's got the backup.
Yeah,
And
but what is he with that? Nothing, as you can see. Like once they relieved him of that, he was very easily taken down.
right. Mike, anything to add for the villains?
I would say the Ice Godzilla part. I like the Ice Age thing they said. That reminded me of like a Monster Hunter storyline. That's kind of like the type of stuff that they lean into, is like these things being able to cause these massive changes globally, even though they're, in terms of the Earth, not very large. I mean, by comparison to the planet.
Mm.
Um, that was kind of a cool concept. I wish they would have done more with it. Um, but I didn't need Ice Godzilla, just as I had said before. Scar King, I actually really liked. I thought that was really well done. I like, like that initial challenge scene where like the other uh apes, I guess you could say giant apes, just kind of form a circle and let Kong and Scar King fight it out, and they're willing to accept the winner to lead them. I mean, obviously that's why they're just there. They're just like, whoever wins, we're good. We'll follow. I like that bit. I think if you eliminate like the Ice Godzilla and you just maybe make the Scar King 40% taller than he was, so that he's intimidating to Kong on a physical level and on the agility level, and it's like,
Yep.
damn, this is actually a better villain. Because like straight up one-on-one without the,
I agree. Just scale him slightly, and
Yeah.
he's more intense.
Yeah, just give him that little bit, and then you can have that 1v1 with Kong in my dream movie where Godzilla and Ice Godzilla aren't here. But no, realistically, you scale him up a little bit and you give him some sort of other strength, and I think you get a more compelling version of it. But as is, I think they did good. They made him look evil. They made that look in his eye, the whatever they did with his eyes that were, I don't even know what to call it, but go ahead. Do you have a?
He looked evil. His eyes.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't know if you knew a good term for what they did with his eyes. But
just trying to agree.
the eyes were really selling it, and yeah, I dug it. And honestly, the Tiamat thing was fucking cool. I wish we would have got more of that. And maybe set up something cooler to happen with it on like a bigger level or something. That would have been really cool because that design was awesome.
It
was
was
just sad
and
that it
then
was gone so quick.
It was gone immediately. So I did just look up while Mike was talking about Scar King. It's Shimo.
Shimo
is the
Ice Godzilla name?
Ice Godzilla kaiju. Yeah, which I actually liked the character design, or the monster design of Shimo. It was a little a little too reminiscent of Godzilla. I feel like they could have distinctively made him a little bit more different.
I think they were going.
You know what
for
it reminded
that,
me of was How to Train Your Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One of the bigger dragons in one of the, I think it might have been the second one. I don't remember the second one or third one, but one of those ice dragons they had there. That's what I kept thinking about.
And I guess my other issue with the ice dragon is really not really with it
Shimo.
itself. It's Shimo. Um, it's more so with when it freezes Godzilla's hand. Um, he would just lose that
Godzilla's
hand.
hand or Kong's hand?
Kong. Sorry, yeah. Uh, he would just lose that hand. Like there wasn't oh, let me get this mechanical fist to fit over it. What about the infection that would be?
Yeah, they didn't really heal anything. They just
Yeah.
put a big mechanism over top of it.
It was just like, oh no, we don't need to worry about that. We literally set up the fact that Kong can have infections in like that first interaction with the trapper, and
Yeah.
him pulling the tooth and all that. That was fucking cool. And they set that up, and then they're like, oh, he's not actually gonna heal him. He's just gonna attach a big fucking thing to his arm, and here we go. It's sure.
Yeah, but it looked
it's
cool.
the Infinity Gauntlet for Kong. Like
It did.
Fucking loved it.
It did inject something into him, so I don't know if that had some sort of like
Oh, you're right.
healing
Yeah.
properties, because it did have like 3 vials that kind of went.
I feel like that would be so convenient that they knew he was going to have frostbite to heal.
I think maybe it was just because it had to graft itself to him that it was sort of like a
Just like
pain,
anesthetic or something.
pain,
Oh, yeah, it
pain
could have
and
been like
healing thing, because it
some Novocaine.
yeah,
Yeah.
Novocaine, but it might have had some like healing, because it would almost have to like heal the wounds that it had to create on him, like
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you could kind of explain it away that way, but it's kind of a leap.
Sold.
Yeah, I mean, in
That was
in
quick,
this
man.
movie, sure, I'll accept it out of this movie. That's fine.
What'd you say
Don't
at the beginning,
dwell.
Andy?
Don't,
Just accept it and move
don't
on.
dwell.
Accept it
Don't
and move
dwell.
on.
Yeah.
You've got me. I'm moving on. Totally fine.
So can we move on to that part then? Can we talk about this mechanical arm?
If you want to.
Well, I mean, the implication was that they were building an entire suit, not just an arm, and that they cut production short for whatever reason. I can't remember what they said in the movie, but like they were building it and then they stopped. And so were they going to try and like Iron Man Kong? Like
Kong gets a Titan, like from Titanfall.
oh,
a Titan
my
and a Titan.
goodness. Or like a Pacific Rim Jaeger, like
Yeah.
just
I
put Kong in one of those.
I feel like it was they mentioned like a funding issue or some sort of like political funding cut
like
or something, but I think they mentioned that they built that suit in case they couldn't trust or feel like Godzilla would just like fuck the earth over, that Kong would be like the last
right, like they would
ditch
build him
effort,
to
like last
destroy all the
resort.
other Titans.
Yeah, exactly. Like if, because they have the girl that can kind of communicate with them, so they have sort of like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, their whole story sets up Kong as the protector of humans. That's it. That is his service as a Titan. That is what he is there for. So he's going to stay on our side, and I get that and everything. And I'm just saying, like, maybe the next movie we get Kong in the full suit of whatever
love
that
it.
would be. And
10 out of 10.
like, I want to see the design first before I say 10 out of 10. Because you never know what they could do. But I would absolutely love to see it where maybe that does come to fruition and Godzilla does go haywire or off the rails or whatever you want to put it, and I finally get to make fun of Ian for Godzilla losing.
Well, I think in the old canon there was a Mecha Godzilla and a Mecha King Ghidorah. So
And there was a Mecha Kong.
yeah, so maybe you need to power suit, power armor some of these guys like the Fallout, to fight like these huge fucking monstrosities of man's creation. Did you guys?
That would actually be so cool.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was just
yeah,
thinking
no.
Mecha Kong versus Armored Kong.
Yeah,
like
it would be cool. Did you guys feel like it was a little weird that the Earth keeps having more areas? Like they went to like under Earth or whatever, and then they went to the
Hollow Earth.
and then there was an under Earth under Hollow Earth.
Another place inside
like,
Hollow Earth.
Like,
Yeah.
are we gonna get to the magma? Like, what's happening here?
well, I feel like they were kind of leaning into that a little bit with like the fiery prison thing that they were saying they put the Scar King in, is that, at some point they're starting to get down to what is that layer called? Because you have like the core, the mantle. They're starting to
I don't
get
know, all I
down.
keep thinking about is like Austin Powers, liquid hot magma.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's what I mean. But that's the
Magma.
mantle. They're starting to get like down toward the mantle in places of Hollow Earth, which we have on Earth. We have places where the mantle comes through the Earth as is. That's called a volcano. They exist already. So having them there makes sense. It's just that they would be much more volatile places. And I think that's an interesting concept, but I don't think it was adequately explained as to like what was going on there.
At some point, though, like they're gonna run out of places to like have all these Titans on Earth. I feel like it's gonna have to be an otherworldly experience at some point or another.
it's gonna be all these
Yeah,
pockets
or
everywhere.
like a
portals
like
to
a portal
somewhere.
to a portal to like Jupiter or something.
Well, I mean, I know in old canon, and they at least reference it in King of the Monsters, is that Ghidorah is an alien. So, like, they talk about, like, oh yeah, Monster Zero is Ghidorah, and it's not of this Earth. They don't exactly call it an alien, but they do say that in King of the Monsters, that he's different from the other Titans, and that he's not a Titan, he's something else. So, that being the case, there is, as far as I remember, there's others that are also from space. Like, they don't really get into where King Ghidorah is from, but space, in general, is where they kind of throw it. And I believe in the old stuff, there's more monsters that follow that same vein. So, I could see that happening.
I mean, Pacific Rim is universal, right? Can't we just get the Godzilla Pacific Rim crossover like everyone wants? Like, just say all the monsters came from the tear in the ocean or whatever, like Pacific Rim.
I mean, sure.
I still haven't seen the second
You know,
one.
we're not talking about, oh, it's so
Really?
good. Yes. They are
It's not as good as the first, but it is good. If you just want another dumb, stupid monster
I'm
fight
always
movie,
down for those.
Yeah, that one's great too.
I would
The nice thing about
argue-
Pacific Rim 2 is some of their fights, at least the climax for sure, takes place in a well-lit daylight setting and not just dark rain all the time.
That's what
So
I
you
was
can kind of
actually
see what's going on.
going to say too, is because of the way they filmed the fight scenes. I actually kind of like the second one better for that part of it. For the
Yeah.
story, yeah, the first one's better as a story, but the second one has way cooler fight scenes.
Fair.
So,
I don't know. I know going into this movie, I was trying to stay away from some of the trailers because I was expecting to go see it and kind of excited. I watched I think maybe the first trailer and then stayed away from everything else. How many trailers did you guys watch? And did it? Because I haven't gone back and watched the other trailers, but did it spoil Ice Godzilla and
No.
Mothra? Because those were both surprises to me, and I fucking
No.
loved it.
I didn't see any of that before.
I feel like
watched
I
the
saw a
movie.
bunch of trailers and Mothra. I felt like they were building to it with like as soon as I saw like the hidden tribe and she was like reconnecting with them and stuff, I'm like they could potentially bring back Mothra. Just because that's Mothra's people. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought that was another cool thing. Again, leading into the third act of the movie where I'm just like, it's just ramping up and I'm like, this is fucking great. More surprises, more monsters. Let's fucking go. Like, it was, so much was happening, but I loved it. It was great.
Oh, yeah. Just throwing down like, oh, hey, we have this version of Godzilla that's been trapped down here.
Yeah.
And it's ice. And you're like, oh, shit. Like, that was it. For me, that was like, oh, shit. That's an oh, shit moment. Like, damn, I didn't know we were going there. I'm not
I mean,
sad,
I think you're right,
but-
Mike. That's the only reason Godzilla is there is to
Yep.
counter the Ice Godzilla. Like, that's
Mhm.
it. But again, totally fine with it because it's just like some of the imagery that goes with the fight in the third act. It's like you said, like the Kong riding Godzilla and like, because I think Scar rides the other one. Right?
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah,
was part of
so-
their storyboard, is they wanted, like, that scene of them riding the Godzillas into battle against each other.
Yeah. Like, that's just fucking cool. Like,
Oh,
I
So-
don't care.
do you think Kong and Godzilla would have come to an amicable partner up if Mothra was not there?
I don't know, because part of the fun of that scene is like trying to see Kong be like, "Look, I'm not here to fight," and Godzilla's
Yeah.
just like, "I'm gonna fuck you up," and like it doesn't matter.
He did.
I will give this movie credit for pointing out why Godzilla hates Kong so much. and it's because of like
they
the
did
reference
point
to
that out.
Scar
Yep.
King and all that stuff.
Mhm.
I actually thought like, okay, then this makes sense because they're both supposed to be Earth's protectors, and why are they at odds with one another? And then it's like, oh, now it makes sense. But also, how the fuck did Godzilla imprison anyone? They talk about that, like Godzilla imprisoned Scar King down there. How? Godzilla doesn't seem to have like the cognitive thought levels to imprison something.
I must have missed that. I don't even know if I remember that from the movie.
Yeah, that was what
I
they.
feel like it was part of that weird like cavern scrawling story part.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. I think that went over my head then.
Yeah, they were talking about like Godzilla fought a war against the apes in Hollow Earth, won, and then imprisoned that like Scar King down in the flames, like in a fiery prison.
He
That's going to
must
be our next movie. It's
he
going to be the
must
prequel.
have he must have somehow gotten them into like the warp and then like covered the warp, just like atomic breathed it shut, like fuck you guys, you're staying down there.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't explain how. So yeah, I'll accept that because I don't have any other answers as to how that's going to work, or also what's imprisoning them there.
Yeah,
Because it
accept
seems
and
like
move
you
on.
can just walk away, like to where
Yeah.
they're coming in with Kong, like where the humans are coming in with Kong. It seems like Kong just comes from there and walks to where these guys are. Why couldn't they just do the same? These are the plot holes I'm talking about.
I thought it was more that like they were trying to find a correct portal somewhere, or it had to be those specific portals for some reason. So either they searched around and couldn't find the right portal, or didn't find any portals. I don't like how they were hidden. Maybe like Andy was talking about. I don't know. That was kind of the gist that I got.
I didn't understand it at all personally, so I'll accept it.
But that's a little bit more speculation maybe on my part. But
I would have liked a little bit more backstory on why Mothra came back. Or how. Why and how. I would have liked a little bit of that.
yeah, I guess that's still a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah. All of a sudden there was Mothra. And I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Mothra's a cool
Well,
character. And
wasn't
awesome.
there
They did a
something-
great design job on Mothra again, so.
Well, wasn't there something that like the reason Mothra came back was something to do with the prophecy of the girl? Like,
Oh yeah, something like that.
I
yeah, it
must
was
not
like
have
been-
she had to awaken Mothra
Right.
by like
Yeah, it had to be
touching
her.
Mothra for whatever reason. Yeah, there was some prophecy.
One
it
that
had
went
to be
between,
her.
like,
in the
two worlds or something, or
Monsterverse,
something.
Mothra died, so how does Mothra come back? That's more the
I
thing,
mean,
guess.
Mothra
Did
does.
she die though,
No.
or was she just like hibernating?
No, Mothra got fucked up by King Ghidorah.
Oh, that was in one of the movies. Okay,
Yeah.
totally forgot that part then.
But
That might have been an
Mothra
earlier
also
movie.
has like one, they all have supernatural abilities, and Mothra's kind of is rebirth. Like if you remember, Mothra also heals Godzilla.
Oh, that's true.
So that's kind of Mothra's thing.
That's it, man. I'll have to
So-
go back and watch all these movies because I don't remember half this shit.
It honestly, you really don't, but you can. Yeah, I mean, they're still fun to watch, so I'd still say yeah, do it. But
Well, because a lot of these I think I've only watched once. Like King of Monsters, I think I only watched once. Skull Island, I've only watched once.
I'd
Um,
love to sit all of us podcast guys down and watch every single kaiju Godzilla King Kong movie in order.
you mean from
Like
the
even
original?
old
Not all
school
of
ones.
Yeah, OG ones,
Oh yeah, I've
I don't know
watched.
if I could sit through them.
Just go through the whole thing.
They
Awesome.
vary so wildly in quality.
Yeah.
Like some
Yeah,
of
I
them
know,
are
that's what I mean.
so garbage, and some of them are
I wanna-
actually so
I want to see
good.
the guy. I want to see the guy hopping around in the Godzilla suit. It's awesome.
Or the one where like Godzilla rockets on its tail, like the
Yeah.
drop kicking
Oh,
Godzilla.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that movie, but like I know I've seen
That-
the image.
I believe
The
that
internet
one
has
is
provided
Son
me
of
that.
Godzilla is the one that movie's from.
He even dances at some point.
Yep.
Oh dear God.
Mecha Kong has a ray that comes out of the top of its head that makes Kong get kind of like woozy and dancy and all that. Like it's like a little, I don't know, hypnosis ray or something. I don't know the word for it, but yeah, it's a thing. It gets weird at times in those movies. They get weird,
All right.
but some of them are actually good. Some of them. I mean, there's a lot of them that would be covered, and I would say maybe 3 of them are like, the first one is actually good, of course. And then after that, there's like 2 others that are sparsed in where it's like, oh shit, this one was actually kind of good. I don't remember which
I mean,
ones.
for anyone that's listened to this podcast long enough, I feel like I'm very bad at committing to this kind of shit. So like 20 movies of Godzilla plus the 5 or something that are in this movie verse, it's like, oh god, that's too much. I couldn't do it.
How about
Godzilla.
I've never seen that? Yeah, they played that trick in the fucking second one of these movies, didn't they? They had Jay Moore say it like, "Oh my god."
But that would, Andy, that would mean we'd all have to watch 1998's Godzilla with Matthew Broderick.
I mean, I will do it if we do all of them.
My suggestion was going to be a similar to the Wheel of Fate. As opposed to watching all of them, maybe we just pick a couple select ones. Maybe we get 10 of them on the wheel.
It's all or nothing.
Andy's our all or nothing guy, completionist over here.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying, if we're gonna get Brian to do it in the first place, I think we just get him to commit to one, and then maybe we can talk.
We're gonna do a Godzilla boot camp. We're all gonna take a week off of work, go out, get every single movie, and we're gonna do a Big Brother thing. We're gonna lock ourselves in until we see all the movies.
We're gonna rent a place.
I was gonna say we're gonna rent a
cabin.
cabin.
The movie theater for a week.
Exactly.
Where rent a cabin.
We will
the only thing in it's a
breathe.
TV and a VCR.
I don't know if we can eat Godzilla, but we can live, breathe, eat Godzilla.
I mean, they make alligator that you can eat, so we could just do that. That's as close as we're gonna get, I think. I've never had alligator. Is it good?
Andy's gonna show up in a Godzilla costume to start tail whipping everybody.
One thing I will say about this movie is I from previous podcasts, I'm not a big King Kong guy usually, but I found myself liking his story in this more so than I could say. I didn't really care about his story in like other iterations, like Skull Island and Godzilla versus Kong. I was still like very pro Godzilla, and I don't know if it's because he got more stuff to do and they actually did a good job of making you care about him. But I actually cared about Kong in this, where I'm like, you know what? He's no Godzilla, but maybe he ain't bad.
Yeah.
Considering Kong can't talk, like they conveyed some pretty good emotions, and you could tell from body language what Kong is feeling, what he's going through, how the monsters are interacting with each other. Like I think all that stuff was very, very well done.
I like his beard. I dig it.
I thought, being that we saw a whole bunch of
good.
other, like of his like race of Titans, that they distinctually set him apart from them. Well, both of them, the Scar King and him, you could tell which ones were them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like they were kind of trying to introduce that as like Kong's the giant gorilla, and he was mostly running into giant chimps of some sort. That's the way I took it. It was like, these aren't gorillas; these are more chimps. And then I don't know what Scar King is supposed to be. It's not an orangutan, but the color's that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I do want to kind of wind down here. One thing I want to touch on is just the human characters at all, because we didn't really talk about them. The one I think I mentioned at the top was Dan Stevens' Trapper.
I got you.
Like his introduction to this movie, like Kong coming up with a toothache, we need to take his tooth out, and then he just comes in on the ship and he's just jamming to his own fucking music that at the same time introduces his character in such a fun way, but also like supports like, I'm gonna take care of you with that I gotcha. That was fucking great, and I've had that song stuck in my head since this movie. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. Everybody else I think was serviceable. Like Brian Tyree Henry, I thought was good. He carries over from the last one, so if you like his shtick in the last one, you'll like him in this. Rebecca Hall is, the straight one in this movie. I think she does a good job playing a concerned mother. Like, surprisingly, I was with her for the movie. And then I can't remember the girl's name. I know I wrote it down. Is it where was it? Kaylee Hoddle? She was a little girl. She also doesn't really, talk much, but she does, I think, a good job conveying the emotions of the child and what's going on with her. She has more stuff to do, I think, in this movie than the last one. But yeah, again, surprisingly, I cared more about the human characters in this movie than I expected to, because typically they're the weak spot for me, where I just want to see monster fights and I don't care how much time I'm spending with the human drama. But this one wasn't too bad for me, and maybe it's because felt more split in this movie because you spend so much screen time with Kong that it does take away from the human storyline, so it has to be streamlined a little bit more. But yeah. Anyway, I think all that stuff kind of worked for me. Dan Stevens obviously was the highlight. I expected him to die. I thought he was too likable. It was not going to make it out of the movie, so I was surprised that he lived.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad the one that did die died because he sucked.
Yeah. He was the other one I expected to go, and the movie delivered.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Whatever that army guy was, I can't remember his name.
He sucked.
Yeah.
And he
Did
died
you
quick,
guys
too.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah.
I was. It almost got a clap out of me. I didn't. But, you know. Did you guys get like Avatar vibes from like when they were flying and the things were mating next to him or whatever? I got big Avatar vibes. Even when he
I can
like
see that. Yeah.
brought the swarm back or whatever to like help them defeat the Scar King, I was like, oh, I'm getting some serious Avatar vibes. just an observation.
Yeah. Andy, anything to add for human characters?
Dan Stevens,
Like,
awesome.
didn't like. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't like. I suppose the head of Monarch in Earth. I didn't really care for her character. She was only in it for like 3 minutes or something. But I don't know. She didn't hit for me.
It's always the head bosses that never know what the hell's going on and have to be convinced.
They make so little appearances that it didn't really too much matter. I also thought the lady that was the hidden tribe head lady did a good job for what little role that she had.
Yeah. Mike, anything for human characters?
Not really. I mean, I think everything was serviceable. I like Dan Stevens and his character was fun. But I don't feel like anybody stood out to me as like carrying the movie. That was up to Kong, in my opinion. I feel like Kong was meant to carry the movie, and he did.
Yeah.
And maybe they should have let him do it a little more, as I have said several times.
All right, last question for you guys. Maybe it's a two-parter, but do you think we'll see a sequel? And if you do, where do you think the MonsterVerse franchise goes from here? What any predictions for a possible sequel? Because I think they would be fine ending here, but depending on how much money this makes, if it makes a shit ton of money, if it crosses probably 500-600 million, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to go for another one. I don't know where they go from here, but that's why I'm kind of posing the question to you guys, because I honestly have no idea.
There really doesn't have to be a place that they go from here. It's just introduce another monster that's a threat and have one of them fight it. Maybe we can get separate movies again. Lessen the budget on the Kong movie. You know what I mean? It would reduce the budget a bit by splitting them up. And give them... Maybe we get a Gigan movie. Or... maybe they go completely off the rails and we get an Ultraman appearance.
He was in the Godzillaverse.
Yep. See, that's why I said if they do Ultraman, I'm fucking there for it. I will love that so much. There's a lot of monsters left that they have not even mentioned or begun to touch on from those old Godzilla movies. They could just keep going, and they could make more new ones. Like the Mutos were new, so they could just come up with something entirely new. So I'm on board for the big giant monster movie fights. You know what I mean? Like as much as I rag on it for how bad the story is, it's still a kaiju movie, so I'm still in.
Yeah. Andy, any predictions or anything you'd like to see going from here?
I do have a prediction, but it's sort of backed by a little bit of an interview I read about from, I want to say it was the director, it could have been the producer, but they referenced how, Kong gets the more than his fair share of screen time in this compared to Godzilla. And he said he thought it would be cool that the next movie would see like the role reversal where Godzilla gets the lion's share of the movie and Kong is sort of like a backseater. So I feel like that's going to come to pass based on it was the highest grossing movie of the year, I think, at one point for opening weekend of
I
the
mean,
year.
it's right now.
I don't know if I
currently,
have
yeah.
those numbers, but yeah, I think it's got to be up there.
As far as I remember, it is
So,
number one. So
I feel like it's
Okay.
I feel like it's doing the money to have a sequel, and they're not going to let something this big.
the quest
Yeah.
for more money.
I mean, at this point, it's making profit.
Merchandising.
I said that yesterday in the show with Josh, so you're going to hear it multiple times. Because it was the same kind of thing. Will it get a sequel? Will it make money? The answer is yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any predictions of where they go from here. Again, sort of echoing what these guys said. If this movie makes enough money, we will see a sequel. That's just what studios do.
Mm-hmm.
This is. Oh, actually, is this Universal? Now I'm second guessing. Is this Universal or is this Warner Brothers? Because I keep.
It's
Legendary?
Legendary that has connections to Warner Brothers Discovery, but it's not.
Yeah.
I keep
they
saying
don't have
Universal
creative.
Monsters, but that's like
That's
Frankenstein and all that shit.
Wolfman,
That's like
Frankenstein,
Frankenstein
Swamp
and-
Thing.
Yeah. Okay. I've been
That's
fucking
one
up the
thing.
name of the universe.
The
whole-
Mummy.
the whole
Yeah,
time.
the Mummy. Dracula.
The Mummy.
So never mind. I don't know if anyone actually listened this far to the podcast, but I fucked up most of the podcast because
Retcon it.
Yeah.
Just
and if Pacific Rim is Universal, this isn't gonna work because Kong and Godzilla could be Warner Brothers. So that's not a
is Pacific
thing
Rim
we can play
Universal?
together.
I don't know.
I'm almost positive
Okay.
it is.
I don't know about King Kong, but Legendary only has Godzilla through Toho, who technically owns him, and they give the rights to
Yeah.
him. So
All right, so maybe it's a little bit more convoluted than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I suddenly
Yeah,
just had the
it's
thought of
gonna-
like, wait a
gonna
minute,
be.
Godzilla versus Kong was on Warner Brothers platform. So I was thinking that's Warner Brothers IP, and then I started thinking, well, if Warner Brothers is making a sequel, they just want money because obviously they've been scrapping movies left and right that they don't think are going to make money.
yeah, those turd nuggets.
I'm mostly certain that Kong originally was Universal IP, but
Okay.
they, I want to say like the Jack Black Naomi Watts movie changed that. Like
Okay.
I feel like that was the first movie that wasn't.
Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yeah, I feel like that was the one that was the split with Universal for Kong.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah, we'll have to see if I need to amend my statement anywhere, put that in the description. Hey, I was saying this the whole time for an hour and a half. But
Just
really it's
record
this.
yourself going legendary and put it in over every single one of the.
That is way too much fucking work that I want to put into the show, and I did not bookmark every time I've said Universal Monsters, so this is going to be real fucking great to listen to back again. Josh will be shitting himself like, it's not Universal, it's Warner Brothers. He'll be the first one to comment once this is up. You fucked up.
And then he'll
You
get to the
done
end of the
fucked
show
up.
and be like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, if he
Yeah.
starts hate tweeting me like midway through, by the end of the time I can say, I'm sorry. You acknowledged it. It's fine.
We can start adding a mistakes segment, like the last 5 minutes, or like, here's the mistakes that we caught while we were doing it.
That's what. So yeah, I listened to Kind of Funny. If anybody knows who Greg Miller is from IGN, has his own show, Kind of Funny. But they always do a segment at the end of one of their shows, which is You're Wrong, where they have a website where when they do it live, people can go to the website, type in something that they said wrong with a reference, so they can basically correct themselves by the end of the show.
Nice.
We're not that advanced, so we do not know in real time when we fuck up. We just kind of have to realize it after the fact.
Can I start sitting in on shows I'm not recording on to do that?
Fact check us as we go.
Yeah, no, just for the end. Just wait till the end. I'll just silently fact check you guys in the background, and then I'll just come in for the end and be like, "Yeah, you guys are fucking stupid."
This is where you fucked up. Right at this time code, you said this. It's actually that. Movie came out in 1997, not 98. You fuck stick. I can't wait for that segment. All right, let's get the rating. So, out of 10 for Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Mike, we'll start with you. What do you give this out of 10?
You know, coming into the episode, I was definitely feeling a bit lower on the rating scale than what I'm going to end up at here, but it's still not getting a glowing review from me. We're going to go with a 6.
Honestly, kind of higher than I thought you were going to do.
Same, but talking about it, I realized I did like it a little more than I thought I did.
Andy, out of 10.
I am so tempted to give this an 8, but plot holes and stuff did not me after I enjoyed the movie and I didn't dwell on it, but I tend to do my dwelling after I start talking about it on the trip home and whatnot, and the way I start like
Yeah.
digging into it, and then I was like, I'm dwelling. I'm gonna give it 7.5.
7 Okay. So I'm going to come out of the highest of this one. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10
Damn.
because I think I had just that much fun watching this movie. I was aiming 8.5, but the more I keep thinking about Dan Stevens' I gotcha. I'm like, no, we got to give you that other half a point. We're going to go to 9 for this one.
That makes our average
The
7.5, by the way. Very easy.
Oh, there you go. We'll take it.
Easy math.
Yeah, the fact that whole bit has like stuck with me 3 weeks later, and I still am just like to myself, and like I saw it with Leslie, so her and I just at every moment it applies. I gotcha. We just have to because it's just that good.
Staying power is a thing, like that can
Yeah.
create
Core memories.
yeah, and it can turn bad movies into cult classics. So not that this is a bad movie,
I mean,
but this has the staying power.
I probably won't get a chance to see this again in theaters, but I am looking forward to owning it later on disc and watching it again after.
Oh yeah, you're gonna watch it when we do our little.
By the time we get back to all those other Godzilla movies and make our way through, I'll have this owned and ready to roll. Yeah.
I mean, hey, maybe this is that turning point for you in kaiju movies.
Yeah.
Where it's
This
like
You just beat me over the head with them until I like them all.
I'm going to take little Diddy and just kick the crap out of you with him.
Nunchuck Diddy, here it comes. Watch out. All right. I think that's it for us. If you've enjoyed the show, please support us, leave a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to give us a share on social media. You can follow or subscribe to keep up with the show. We are on Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, Amazon. Well, Anchor. All right, so everything's changing. Google's basically going away. Anchor has changed to Spotify.
Oh, did it?
So half of this shit, I had to sign in with my Spotify account for Anchor because Anchor has been absorbed by Amazon and Spotify. Or not Amazon, I think just Spotify. I don't think Amazon owns Spotify. I don't know. Everybody owns too much shit. I'll cut that. So it's really hard to figure out where the fuck shit it is anymore. So I got to start really editing probably my outro for this because half of it doesn't apply anymore. So anyway, yeah, catch us on hopefully anywhere you can listen to podcasts. You can find us. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/BryGuySuperFriends, or search Bry Guy into Super Friends. I have been neglecting that website very much, so the posts are few and far between. Josh has basically been holding down the fort with posts. So again, shout out to Josh for keeping that site alive. But if you have any questions, comments, topic suggestions, and you can send us messages there. Try to email us, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com. That might actually be the only legit source of incoming stuff from people that I don't check that probably is still fine. So I probably should actually go back and check that, see if anything's there. You can hit us up on Twitter, because I refuse to call that fucking thing X, at BGSuperFriends. Again, I haven't been checking that site very much either, so I know Andy was promoting our 300 through that site, so he was doing the promotion there. I'm a really good host, guys. I don't promote shit anymore. So if you're looking for places to find us on social media, it's few and far between.
You need to delegate more. There's a bunch of people on here. You just need to delegate. Just like say,
if somebody
Josh,
wants
you
to be our
take
social
Facebook,
media manager.
I'll take Twitter X.
Well, you're still active on Twitter, right?
I am, yeah.
For the most part. Yeah, I gotta start maybe. I think I said this last time. Start making accounts for the social media that I use. Like Threads and Instagram are usually where I'm spending most of my time now. So I got to start making accounts there, which I never did. So that might be the better place to find. If I ever go that route, I will start plugging those handles. As we talked about at the beginning of the show, you can follow me on Twitch, Jedi Bry Guy on Twitch, for whenever we do live shows, we will do them there. If I ever get around to streaming BioShock, I will do it there. Whenever I get around to streaming Andy's game, I will do it there. So yeah, keep an eye out, follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And that's it for us. On behalf of Andy, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
I got you.